Hello, and welcome to another episode of How to Get an Engineering Co-op. Today, we're going to talk about where to actually find engineering co-ops. Many students use the general path of Googling engineering co-op or looking on LinkedIn, perhaps Indeed. Those are definitely some good sources for co-ops, but I have a pretty good list here of other places that you can look for co-ops. Well, let's get into it. We'll start with the sort of job posting databases, or in other words, any place where lists of job postings are kept. So I'm just going to go down this list here. Google. This is one I already mentioned, and I'm guessing this may be one of the first places that you have looked for engineering co-ops. Google lists many co-ops, although I have seen a number of errors or incorrect listings on Google. For example, I found a job posting one time a few years ago for a company in the Twin Cities area of Minnesota and called up that company because their website didn't list a co-op. And I asked them if they were actually looking for a co-op, and they said, wow, we haven't had co-op here for years. So somehow Google had pulled a posting from years ago and was making it look like it was currently available. So you just got to watch out for those types of things from Google. No matter where you find a job, go to the company's website and look for the job there and apply there. So this way you'll be sure that they get your information, as well as you'll be sure that it's an actual job posted from that company. Indeed. So that's another one that is good, and you'd probably looked there. And again, they do have some jobs that are not actually listed by companies, so just beware of that, although it is a good source to look. LinkedIn. LinkedIn lists many co-ops, so that is a good place to look. They do have an easy apply button, but I highly recommend going to the company's website and applying through that route rather than just clicking the easy apply button. Your university Career Center should have plenty of resources for you. So if you have not visited your university's Career Center, I highly recommend you do that. Not only will they have available job postings, but they also likely have career counselors that can work with you on these things. They can review your resume, practice interviews with you, and so much more. So some resources they have there, likely they have Handshake. You have to use your university login credentials for this. So if you haven't checked that out, check that out. The Career Center may have other types of software for you where job postings are listed. So check those out. Sometimes companies partner with universities and they'll only hire students from your university for their co-ops, which is a really great opportunity. So look out for those. The Career Center might also have place on their website where they list postings. And company websites is another place to look for co-ops. I've already mentioned this, but I recommend if you have a company that you'd like to work for, go directly to their career page on their website and look right there. Also, professional organizations list jobs. So that's something like IEEE or SME, and every type of engineering has its own professional organization. As a student, you can join for a very low cost. You know, it's usually around $20 a year or something along those lines. And you can become a member, and then you can have access to all of the job postings that they have there. Government and economic development websites. So oftentimes government entities such as states or cities or regions have their own job posting sites. It's likely that wherever you live, there is at least one. Here in Minnesota, we used to have minnesotaworks.net, and they've just changed it over. That is actually where I found all of the professional jobs I've held in my lifetime. So those types of websites look for in your area. Networking. All right. So with networking in professional organizations, the members of those organizations are engineers. So if we're talking about IEEE, those are probably many electrical engineers, for example. So any way that you could network or talk with some of these members, that's another way that we can begin to inquire about co-ops. We're just talking about people that may know of an open co-op or a company that may be willing to hire a co-op. The faculty at your school, likely they are engineers and have worked out in the field. Even if they haven't, they still likely know many companies that hire engineers. So faculty, professors, instructors, all of those could all be a great resource. So perhaps stay after class and have a chat with your professor about possible co-ops. Your own family. I've worked with many students who have an aunt or some relative, or maybe it's your uncle's best friend who are working at companies who hire co-ops. Use your family as a resource and ask every single one if they know of any companies that hire engineers and start the conversation that way. Your friends. Maybe you have a friend who has a friend who's working at a company right now who's an engineer. Perhaps in your Calc 3 class, there might be someone who just got a job at a company and they're still looking for more co-ops. Ask everyone you know. Out in the community, there are many places that you might frequent where you could ask people there. For example, if you go to the gym or a health club, if you're involved in sports, your religious affiliations, when you're talking with people in those places, just ask them if they know of any companies or anyone who works at a company where they hire engineers and just see where that leads. I know many students who have acquired a co-op this way. That's what we have for networking. So that's talking with people, asking them who they know. And now we're going to move on to events. These are some types of experiences that you're having with someone who already represents a company who hires engineers. For example, career fairs. This is one of the biggest resources for students to find co-ops. If your school is holding a career fair, definitely go to it. Sometimes companies themselves hold career fairs, so be on the lookout for those. Conferences. So those professional organizations I was talking about often have an annual conference. Sometimes they have regional conferences that might be closer to you. Those are places that you can go and talk with folks about opportunities. Your school might have something like an engineering night, or they might have companies come in to present about their company. Anytime that happens, be sure to talk with those engineers. There's cold calling or cold knocking. There might be a company in your town that maybe produces aftermarket parts for vehicles, and they don't have any co-ops listed, but you're very interested in working there. There are a few ways you could go about it. One is calling the company at their general phone number and ask the question, could I speak with the engineering manager? Tell them a little bit about yourself and what your goals are, and ask them if they hire co-ops. Another thing you can do is physically go to that company with your resume and go inside and ask for the engineering manager. So those are things most people don't do, but I've had students do this and it has worked out for them. Doesn't always work out, but it's another thing to try. And job shadows. Once you do get in contact with a company, you can ask them to do a job shadow, which is basically following them around for half day or a whole day and just kind of learning what it is that they do. And this I recommend everyone does. I have so much more to share about all these ways of searching for co-ops. For now, I wanted to at least give you a list of ideas and other places that you can look if you're trying to figure out more opportunities for applying for co-ops. I do want to share a story about a student that I worked with in the past. The program at their university required them to be on co-op for 2 years. They were getting really stressed out because they weren't getting any offers. To combat that stress, we came up with a plan. He made a list of 10 companies in his home area because he planned to live at home while being on co-op. Of those 10 companies, he called each one, and we practiced what he would say, and he generally said, "Hi, can I speak with the engineering manager?" Once he got in touch with the engineering manager, he asked, "Do you hire co-ops?" And that sparked a conversation. And from that conversation, depending on the company, different things happened. He did end up getting hired by the first or second company that he reached out to. He didn't get a hole-in-one on the first call. He did end up having to have a few back and forth conversations while they arranged to employ a co-op. but he did end up working there. Through hard work and going outside of his comfort zone, he did find a co-op for himself. And you can do the same thing. If you're someone who's gone out of your comfort zone while looking for a co-op, or if you've had some great successes or even failures, I would love to hear about them. You can send me an email at brandy@deltaxcoop.com. I'll have the email in the description for this podcast. In the last episode, I asked you to make a list of 20 companies where you would like to work. Now I challenge you to go back to each one of those companies, take a look at their career page on their website. Are they advertising any positions for interns or co-ops? And take notes on what you find. Also, do they have the ability for you to sign up for job alerts? If so, you might want to do that. So if they do post a co-op, you will know right away. That's your challenge for your 20 companies. Take a look at their career webpage and see what you can find there, and take notes on all of this. It's better to take notes so you can look back and see what happened rather than trying to remember. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of How to Get an Engineering Co-op. If you liked it, please subscribe so you can be aware of future episodes. And until next time, you've got this.